I'm Todd Batty, Creative Director on SSX.
I'm Jeff Coates, Environment Art Director for SSX. This is part one of the SSX Massive World video series.
So starting with an interface inspired by Google Earth, there are 9 major regions around the world to select from. Within each one of those regions, there's multiple mountains, and on each one of those mountains, there's multiple drop points.
So we use NASA topographical data as the foundation for peaks in the game. We take that data and we run it through Mountain Man, which is proprietary software.
And we got to a point early in development where we could literally type in the latitude and longitude coordinates of any mountain in the world, press a button, and Mountain Man would create a 3-dimensional model of that mountain in just under 28 seconds. So with that, let's just jump right into our first region, the Himalayas. So the Himalayas are really about 2 very distinct different styles. At the lower altitudes, it's all about the Great Wall of China.
You're going to be able to jump over that, ride down it, grind along the edge of it. The statues, the prayer flags, all things that give that region a unique sort of look.
At the higher altitude, though, the Himalayas is one of the most gnarly, epic regions in the world. The deadly descent is something we call thin air. So here, the terrain is much more craggy and rough, and it makes it really difficult to get down the mountain quickly. But that's something you're going to be trying to do before you run out of oxygen. So the Himalayas overall have these 2 amazingly contrasting styles that we think make it an incredibly rich experience. Our next region is Alaska. And you know, when we look at Alaska, definitely one of the most iconic landmarks even in the world is the Alaskan pipeline. So we thought it'd be really cool to build a gigantic SSX version of the Alaskan pipeline that you could ride and grind on top of these huge pipes.
So in Alaska, you start by going down these crazy ridge lines that open out into this valley, and there you see the Alaskan pipeline. Now you can get up on the pipeline, ride down it, avoid avalanches, jump off and get back on again. Takes you all the way down through the valley down to the finish line.
So in Alaska, you're literally gonna have snow crumbling underneath of your board, and every run poses huge risks of avalanches. Overall, I think Alaska provides an incredibly unique gameplay experience across the board. So next up, we have Siberia. You know, Siberia stands in stark contrast to the Himalayas and to Alaska. Definitely one of our darker environments.
So Siberia is one of my favorite tracks from a visual standpoint. It's got a really oppressive, stormy feel to it. You'll be going down the mountain. When you come around the corner, you're going to come out into an abandoned nuclear plant. There's going to be lots of opportunities for big tricks, big air, all kinds of stuff.
It's one of our widest maps. There are literally hundreds of different ways to get down the mountain. But we couldn't talk about Siberia without talking about ice, because that's what the deadly descent is in Siberia. And all of the maps and all of the tracks and all the mountains you're going to find in Siberia have very little snow. The ice definitely brings a completely unique wrinkle to the region of Siberia. So that wraps up part 1 of our Massive World video series. Keep an eye out for part 2, where we're gonna go through Patagonia, Antarctica, and New Zealand. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Hey everyone, I'm Todd Batty, Creative Director on SSX.
Hey everybody, I'm Jeff Coates, Environment Art Director for SSX. And this is part 2 of the SSX Massive World video series.
So Patagonia is not only one of our most beautiful regions, it's also one of our steepest. You're gonna be riding on some harrowing narrow ledges with sheer drop-offs for thousands of feet below you.
You're gonna get dropped off in the peak right at sunset. You're gonna start going down the side of the mountain.
While you're trying to dodge through a literal graveyard of crashed airplanes that provide some amazing trick opportunities.
Got these massive gaps that even an SSX character can't span on their own, so they're gonna need to use the wingsuit.
Where you're gonna be jumping over gaps literally the size of football fields. So Antarctica is home to some of the biggest maps in our game. Just like in real life, is one of the most barren environments in the world.
So Antarctica looks like a really sunny, safe place, but it's actually frozen, desolate, cold, windy.
Going from sunlight into shade at certain times of the year, the temperature can drop 40 degrees centigrade in less than 1 second. So you're gonna not only have to make your way down the mountain, you're gonna have to do it staying in the sunlight and avoiding areas of shade so you don't freeze to death.
You're gonna drop into these ice caves, and there's gonna be mountaineering ladders that are gonna be spanning the crevasses that you're gonna be able to grind across. There's gonna be jumps that are gonna actually take you up out of the caves, out into the sunlight, then drop you back down into the caves again.
You're gonna be exploring a massive world of just some of the most interesting and cool topography in the game. So next we come to New Zealand, one of the most beautiful natural environments in the world. We decided to build a high altitude lake that starts at the summit of our feature peak and literally creates a river that runs all the way down the mountain. And then in contrast to that beautiful environment, we created probably the largest set piece in our game, this massive concrete dam spillway that sits right at the center of the mountain.
And you can either go into the dam and ride down through the pipes, or you can gap right over the top where you're going to get another huge view of the area.
And so finally, New Zealand is home to the deadly descent of Whiteout, one of the most difficult challenges in the game, where you're going to have to try to navigate your way down the mountain where you literally can't see 2 feet in front of you, and you're going to need some special technology courtesy of SSX to help you get to the bottom. So that concludes round 2 of our SSX Massive World video series. Keep an eye out for round 3, where we are going to cover Africa, the Rockies, and the Alps. Thanks everyone, see you on the mountain. I'm Todd Batty, Creative Director on SSX.
I'm Jeff Coates, Environment Art Director for SSX, and this is part 3 of the SSX Massive World video series.
Africa is the environment that we probably take the most creative liberties with. You know, we looked at Kilimanjaro, a big frozen volcano with one of the most iconic craters in the world, the Kibu crater right at the summit, and we decided in true SSX style, we should just go ahead and create all of our courses inside that frozen volcano.
It's multiple paths down there, it's really dark, you're going to need your headlamp, and you're going to have to watch where you're going because there's lava bubbling out through the crevasses everywhere.
So Africa is home to one of the most frightening deadly descents in the game, darkness. Here we're gonna drop you literally into a completely black cavern where you're gonna try to navigate your way down to the bottom, armed with nothing more than a headlamp attached to your head to help light the way. It is truly a harrowing gameplay experience. We think players are gonna love it. So next, let's move on to the Rockies. So the Rockies are definitely one of the most lush environments on our game. The maps are littered with giant Douglas firs, and there are trees scattered across all the courses in this region.
It's got a train wreck section where you're actually going to be able to grind up onto the rail cars. It's also got a lot of power lines in it. If you can find the line, you can actually use the power cables as a rail.
So the deadly descent here, no surprise, is called trees. So what we decided to do is take, a typical SSX course, and then we absolutely jammed it full of trees all in the main riding path. Added another wrinkle to that, we decreased the visibility significantly. It's really fun, it's really fast. Good luck with that one. So finally, let's talk about the Alps. So the Alps are all about high altitude engineering, one of the most unique places in the world where there's literally rail systems carved out in the inside of the mountains, bridges spanning from peak to peak. It seems like in the Alps, they'll just run a chairlift to anywhere.
So in the village section, there's going to be half-buried houses, fallen trees, fallen gondola lines, all of which you can jump or grind off of.
So we can't talk about the Alps without talking about rock. So the Alps is home to the deadly descent of rock. You're gonna need some of the best and most advanced equipment that SSX offers in this game in order to get down that one. So that concludes the SSX Massive World video series. We've taken you around the globe from the Himalayas to the Alps to Siberia and back. Thanks a lot for coming along for the ride. We'll see you on the mountain.